I'm in a 2015 Nissan Versa sedan, 64,000. And initially, I could not replicate the owner's problems, but it has happened to me. So as you can see, the car is stopped. I took it out for a test drive, and it's in drive, as you can see right there. And I got my foot on the accelerator pedal all the way to the floor. Look at this. All the way to the floor. And the car does like 1 mile per hour at best. Doesn't want to move. The engine's not even revving up, you know, so it's not like a transmission issue where like the transmission is slipping. So here I have the accelerator pedal sensor 1 and 2, and as I hit the accelerator pedal, let's see the volts go up. And right now I got it all the way to the floor, so we're at wide open throttle right now, and they're both reading 3.8 volts, and the car is just barely creeping along. By the way, there are no trouble codes. I checked it and it says no DTCs. So here I dropped it into neutral, as you can see the end right there, and I just floored it. And initially it took some time to go up. It was very hesitant, but eventually it started climbing RPM. So now let's see if I drop it back into drive, if we could get it to move. It's creeping, and there it goes out of nowhere. Let's go have a look at this throttle body. We may have a stuck throttle body. Maybe some simple cleaning will fix it. First of all, look at the air cleaner. This is filthy. It's so bad, I feel like just taking the air cleaner out of my car just to give it to him, because I ended up buying a new one because I'm ready for a new air filter. And I guarantee you, the one that's in my car looks nothing like this. The mass airflow sensor actually looks pretty clean. I'm actually surprised. But I'm still going to go ahead and give it a quick spray of some MAF cleaner. And once again, I'm surprised because it doesn't look that dirty. Let's have a look inside of here. Look at that. It's not too bad. Even if I could put my hand inside of here, try to open it. It's not the worst. Huh. So was it just a restriction of airflow from the filter? I don't know, but why were we... That doesn't explain why the throttle position sensor wasn't responding when I pushed the accelerator pedal all the way down. Well, let's go into the TCM and see if we got any codes, and then take it out for another test drive. As you can see, no codes in the TCM. The more I drive this car, I'm starting to think there is a transmission issue. Okay, so right here, you see we're in engine speed. So basically, RPM, obviously. This right here, I'm holding the accelerator pedal as I don't know what to call it, as steady as I can, okay? And look at the fluctuation in the RPM. That's one test I did, and this like stopping at a stop sign or whatever. And then I did it again right here. So holding my foot as steady as I can, and this is what the RPM is doing. It feels like the transmission is like grabbing, letting go, grabbing and letting go, and it keeps doing that as long as you have your foot on the accelerator pedal. By the way, that filter, that dirty one, says Nissan on it. I guarantee you this car does not go to a Nissan dealer for maintenance. So that means that air filter is the original air filter that came with this car. That filter has 60-something thousand miles on it. That's crazy. Okay, I'm holding my foot steady, and yeah, it's like a roller coaster, back and forth. It pulls, lets go, pulls, lets go. And to prove that it's not the engine that's doing it, and it actually is the transmission, let's look at this. Okay, I got the car in neutral, got my foot on the accelerator pedal, and I'm trying to keep it as steady as I can. Look at that, the RPM is steady because there's no transmission involved. I'm gonna kick it up more RPM and try to hold it right there. You can see we're not getting anywhere near a signal like we had while I was driving from the RPM. And just so we have something to compare it to, let's go back to that right here. Look at that, going up and down, and same thing right here. The RPM keeps fluctuating even though I kept my foot as steady as I was just doing right now. I think there's a transmission issue. I've got a Ford Focus here. It came in for a lower ball joint. Now, these ball joints are riveted in. So if it is the original ball joint, it is going to be riveted in. And this was a complete nightmare. Even when I cut the heads off of the rivets, they did not want to come out. It was quite a fight. You can see I got all my toes on the floor. That's how you know I went sideways. But eventually, the house always wins. Got this big old Chevy 2500 here, and it's just too big. It doesn't fit inside the garage, so I'm gonna be working outside. Thankfully, I'm just putting brake pads on it. Looks like it might start raining though. Say hi. That sucks working with you know, the cheap brake pads, because they don't come with the hardware kit or anything like that, so you're forced to clean up and reuse the old hardware kit, and everything is just rotted away like crazy. It sucks. Here's the brake pad from the front left side. Look at the rust tracking on this thing. You can see how the if I could get this to focus, the brake pad is starting, or the friction material is starting to separate from the backing plate. Alright, so I'm working on the rear brakes now, and it looks like someone's been in here recently. These rotors look pretty new, and look at these brake pads. They are almost brand new. Look at all that life left on them, and they look perfect. Okay. Now, one thing I noticed is when I first opened up the package. Okay, so these are AutoZone like economy brake pads, like the bottom of the barrel, right? Initially, I thought we got the wrong brake pads because I'm like, whoa, they look super thin compared to the ones that came off. But no, they are the correct pads. Everything lines up perfectly, so they will fit on this truck. But look at what I noticed here. I don't want to open up the packaging in case they're going to get returned. But is it me? Or is the friction material on the AutoZone pads just way thinner? That is crazy. You know, it never occurred to me to check this type of thing. But that might explain why people who tend to get these cheap pads, I tend to see them a lot more often, you know, coming back to get their brake pads changed. Is it because AutoZone's selling them thinner pads? I don't know. Conspiracy theory, let's all put on our tin hats at this point, right? But I know I'm not crazy. This pad looks a lot thicker than the AutoZone pad. And also you got to consider, this pad's already used, so it has some friction material taken off of it, and it's still thicker than the AutoZone pad. That is crazy. I'm gonna start whenever I get pads from AutoZone, I'm gonna start looking at the thickness. Well, it's kind of hard to compare them because you got to figure if you're there changing pads, you know, the pad's obviously worn down. This is a special situation right here where they want to get the back brakes done, but someone's already been here. All this stuff is pretty much new, so it's not common, or it's not often where I'm able to compare something like this. But that is crazy. So I'm curious now, have any of you guys ever come across a situation like this, or noticed that like these auto parts store name brands are a little bit on the thin side? The owner decided to stay with the parts that came off of the car, or the van, which honestly I think is a smart move. All this stuff looks great. There's absolutely no reason to change this stuff. Whoever was in here, they look like they did a decent job. The pads move how they should. Nothing is stuck in place. The rotor looks like it's worn down evenly. I can see that they greased up the slide pins. So everything looks good. Got a Pontiac G6 here, and it's here because it needs rear shocks and a radiator. So the radiator is busted. She said she didn't hit anything. She said she didn't hit anything. She said it just started leaking one day, and all of a sudden the car is overheating. So she hasn't driven it like for a week, and she finally drove it over here. She said just kept pulling over every time it got hot. That's the story. Anyway, I'm just gonna go ahead and pop a radiator into it. Someone else diagnosed it, so let's just go ahead and get it done. Oh, this escalated quickly. Yeah, there just didn't seem like there was enough space to, push all this stuff out and just try to get out what I wanted to. And then there's a bolt down here that holds a condenser to the radiator, and I couldn't get to it. So I just thought it'd be easier to remove the headlights and the bumper. It took like 10 minutes, and that's out of the way. Initially, I was expecting to, because I was like, man, I can't figure out how this thing comes out. Like, it didn't seem like there was enough clearance. So I was going to actually remove this whole support right here. But once I get the bumper off, I could see that there are no bolts holding it in place. It's simply welded in. So that's a no-go. But once I was able to get to that bolt down here with the bumper removed to take the condenser off of the radiator, you see, just move the condenser out the way, and it gave me more than enough space to pull the radiator out. Now, there's the old radiator right here. I'm gonna assume this is the leak. Like I said, I did not diagnose this car. I'm just changing a part. And that's the side that butts up against the condenser. And if we look at the condenser here, there's no wet spot on it. So I'm gonna assume that is the actual radiator leaking right there, and it's not like a busted condenser that's sprayed all over the radiator, if that makes any sense. Yep. So it's just one of those jobs where the fans actually makes more sense for the fans to stay in place, because it is a nightmare to get the fans out with the radiator installed. It's virtually impossible. Okay, so I'm in the process of putting the bumper and the headlights back on. I've already gone ahead and put coolant in the system just to verify we don't have any leaks before I put everything back together. So pretty much filled up the system. I did not pressure test it. All I did was fill it up and check for initial leaks. I think it'll be okay. Alright, so mostly everything is put back together. As you can see, I got the engine running. I want to start bleeding the system. You can see it pretty much sucked in all of the coolant, so I have to refill that. And I'm just gonna button this up while the car idles. Okay, so the car has been on for about 10 minutes. We are now getting heat inside of the cabin. If you look at the temperature right there, it's right in the middle. We are at about 192. Okay, so pretty straightforward stuff back here. I got the old strut out, as you can see. Now this one wasn't completely blown. It was it's on the weak side, but it's not blown out. It still worked. But there was a big difference between the worn out one and the new one as far as how much pressure it has. So this side's all done. I'm gonna go knock out the other side. I'm out test driving this Pontiac, and I've got about a 20-minute drive on it and no overheating. The temperature got up to about 131, and I'm just here idling, letting the fans kick on, see if it does anything. And sure enough, I just heard the fans kick on. So I'm just gonna watch the temperature drop just to make sure everything's okay. Yep, it went from 230 down to 222, 221. So the fans are working, everything's working, no more overheating. I'm just gonna park it here, leave it here overnight, and then tomorrow check the coolant, and if I have to, I'll top it off, because I think the owner isn't gonna pick it up till tomorrow. Got this Pontiac G6 that came in a few days ago on the hook because it was overheating, and it did not take long to find this piece that snapped off. It's supposed to be connected to that right there. Now, of course, this stuff does not look OEM to me. Sorry about the sun, but this stuff does not look OEM. So I went online and I was searching for quite some time, trying to figure out what originally goes here, but I really couldn't find any good pictures or information or anything like that. So I don't know if OEM uses the same like T-style fitting that goes between these three hoses, but you know, it's gonna have to get repaired the same way it was repaired last time. So basically just replace this part and reuse these same crappy clamps. And what took a few days is trying to get this part from AutoZone. Originally the owner went to AutoZone and it had to be ordered, right? So she ordered, they told her to be like 2 days, and the day she went to pick it up, they said, oh, someone already picked it up and they signed for it. And she said, what are you talking about? So of course it wasn't me, so they had to order another part, so another few days. So yeah, car's been sitting here for almost a week already, or something so stupid like this. And it looks like this car is going to be sitting here for probably a few more days, because this is not the right part. You see the diameter of that, then you grab the new part and look at the diameter. You can clearly tell that it's much smaller. Here's a slightly better angle. You can clearly see how the one that came off the car is a lot bigger. So this one is not going to work. At this point, I'm just going to go ahead and put whatever I can back together. There wasn't much. It's just the overflow tank. Just bolt it down and park it back in front and get off of me. There's a bug on me. Staying bugs. The next day with this Pontiac, and I just gave the part to the owner and said, hey, just take this to the store and see if they can match it up. So she went to AutoZone and returned the old part, and she said she stopped at O'Reilly's and they had the same exact part in stock. So waiting a week from AutoZone to get this part, and then it's still the wrong part, and then going back and forth, only for O'Reilly's to just have it in stock and we could have had it the same day. That's crazy. Whatever. So as you can see, I pulled the tank. So much glare. I pulled the tank out again, and it should be pretty easy to put this back on. Just have to get I'm assuming, yeah, there's a piece of plastic still stuck inside of here that I gotta get out. Alright, so here's that piece that I had to remove from the hose. It's kind of a pain in the butt to get out. But the new piece is installed. Let's see if I can get you guys a shot of this. It's the one with all the clamps on it. There it goes right there. Well, that's how it came in, and that's how it's gonna leave. You know, I did look online and I really couldn't find a definitive answer on whether it came from factory like that with a T in it. But it did look identical to the one that was in its package. Alright, so the engine is getting up to temperature. There aren't any leaks. I checked, everything looks good. And at the moment, I'm just, like I said, bleeding the cooling system. I got my nose spill funnel attached. Just gonna let this do its thing. In a 2016 Altima, and it's just here for brake pads up front. It's my first time sitting in the newer body style Altimas. I could see Nissan did not change much. They changed very little just to make it look slightly newer inside of here. Anyway, I'm gonna take it out for a test drive before I just start digging into it and put brake pads on it, because you know, quite a few times people be like, oh yeah, just put brake pads on it. I say, hey, your car's ready, come pick it up, and they drive away and say, hey, the noise is still there. And then I take it out for a test drive and realize it was never the brake pads all along. It was like a wheel bearing or something stupid, right? I had to pop the hood open to see what engine is in this car, because it's, well, it looks essentially like the same engine that's in our 13 Altima, yet this car feels much quicker. I don't know what it is, but this car just feels a lot faster, even though they seem to be the same engine. I'm gonna do some research and see if Nissan bumped up the horsepower. I don't know, but definitely is quicker than ours. Nothing special to see here. The brake pads are clearly very low, and that's why they're getting replaced. These are not the original brake pads, which is really weird because the car is a 16 model. So I would have expected the original brake pads to last, but someone's been in here before. I could tell these are not original pads. Anyway, we're gonna go ahead and put these AutoZone pads on, and these are like the budget economy kind. So after I put these on, let's see if we have any noise that comes from them. I was talking about it in my last video. So yeah, I don't know, pads are looking real thin, AutoZone. No weird noises. Everything sounds just how it did before I changed the brake pads. Got this Lexus RX330 here, and it's here for tie rods, all 4 of them. Look at the inside of those tires, or that tire. Look at the inside of that tire. I feel like there's a lot more going on here than just tie rods. Alright, so on this side we have a bad lower ball joint. Tie rods seem fine. As far as the driver's side, everything seems fine. Tie rods seem okay, the ball joint seemed okay. I don't know why the tires weren't out on the driver's side. Maybe someone rotated the tires. You know, they took the one that was over here because it was starting to show the wire, so they moved it over, and now this one's, you know, same thing's gonna happen to it. But I'm gonna have to call this person because me putting tie rods on the car right now is not gonna fix this car. In fact, it's not gonna do anything. It needs a ball joint, it needs a set of struts, and a proper wheel alignment. So NTB told her she needs tie rods, and that's why she had me order them. But it's wrong. It's not the tie rods. I mean, like, can it benefit from tie rods? Sure, but that's not the initial problem. It's not the immediate problem. So the job just canceled. She said put the parts in the car, give her her money back, because I didn't really do anything besides jack the car up, which is fine. And she's just gonna take it back, and she'll get in contact with me whenever she's ready to get, you know, this stuff fixed. Okay, so update. Turns out they're just gonna run out to AutoZone and get the front right lower ball joint, and I guess we're gonna go ahead and take care of the ball joint today. This Lexus has got the combo breaker. We have a missing lug nut. We have a 19mm lug nut. We have a 21mm lug nut, and we have 2 basically like 21.5s or 22 because they're so swollen you can't fit a 21 on it. Okay, so I'm all done here. The wheel doesn't shake like crazy anymore. The owner wants me to try to return those inner tie rods that I got from, well, the inner and the outer tie rods that I got from Rock Auto, and she wants to try to get a refund and put that money towards some new strut assemblies. Now, of course, the tie rods don't cost much, and especially considering, you know, the shipping fee and then the restocking fee, you're not going to get all your money back, but it's something. Test driving this Lexus, the one I just put the ball joint on. It sounds like we have bad wheel bearings. Now the wheel bearing on the front right side where I put the ball joint on, pretty much took everything apart just to change that ball joint, and I noticed that the wheel bearing was not in the best condition. But a lot of the wheel bearing noise sounds like it's coming from the back of the car. Some of these cars, just one thing after another, right? And of course the customer does not like to hear that there's more and more things wrong with their car. It's always the mechanic. Mechanic's always trying to get money out of you. Just trying to steal your money, huh? We are doing a rear wheel bearing on a Ford Explorer, and we had to bust out all the tools for this job. Even had to take the knuckle over to the press. This tool right here was not going to get it out. They just get stuck in there so bad. So you can see we finally got it out. You know, working around the sensor because we couldn't get the sensor out either. But popped out eventually. So what sucks is he found out he has a wheel bearing on the other side is also bad. So that sucks. And we got out the second wheel bearing. Needless to say, the second wheel bearing, or the second side of anything, always goes a lot easier, right? I want to say we knocked this side out in like a fraction of the time that it took us to do the first side. So now we're just going to go ahead and clean out the hub and get it ready to accept the new wheel bearing. I've got a 06 Colorado, and we're getting some front brakes done. Fortunately, these are captive rotors, so all this crap has to come out just to change the rotor. You can see what's going on back here, which is metal on metal. Yes, I'm using the Harbor Freight jack stand. No worries. Don't worry, I don't have it up on any of its locking points, so it's right all the way at the base, so there's no chance of it like actually like falling. So I'm well aware of that stuff, okay? He recently had it to a shop. They put a new outer tie rod on it. They put a new shock. They put a new steering shaft, as you can see, upper ball joints. But I don't know why they didn't sell him on the brakes, because he said had they told him about it, he would have just got it done while it was there. One thing I noticed is, don't worry, it's not pulling that line, it's being held up by this. One thing I noticed is either this thing rotted away or they forgot to put the little pin in there, so this brake line just kind of bounces around inside of here. There should be like a locking, I don't know, a locking washer, if you want to call it that. Some sort of retainer. But let me finish getting these 4 bolts out that hold the wheel bearing assembly out. Alright, so I finally got this all separated, and you can see the damage on the rotor here. Yeah, what a freaking pain in the butt to get this stuff apart. Who thought of this idea, right? Anyway, it's all apart. As far as I'm concerned, all the hard work is done. Just a lot of cleaning now, cleaning rust, and start putting everything back together. So this side is just about done. All I have to do is connect the outer tie rod and the ABS sensor. Everything else is put back together. New rotor, new pads, everything's nice and smooth. Now this right here, let's have a close look at this. The rocker, see how it's all hacked up with Bondo and all kinds of crap and God knows what else. He brought this truck to me about a month ago, and these rockers are all rotted out, okay? And he asked me if I could fix this, and I told him nope, I'm not touching that car. So he took it to this guy, right? And he said the guy isn't right in the head or something like that. He got into an accident, and something hit him in the head, and ever since then he hasn't been right. Anyways, the guy charged him $50 to repair this rocker. And after I looked at it, I told him, well, what you pay is what you get, right? And he just started laughing. And then these little rubber strips that go on the door, he said he actually glued them onto here, which I don't think he intentionally did that. I think obviously you can see all the glue on the bottom of the door here. He glued it to the door because he had no other way to put it there, and from the door being, you know, shut without it curing, it sticks to here. So he asked me if I could put crazy glue right here just to hold this stuff up. I'm like, I'm not gonna do this. I'm not gonna put my name on this. Like, this is stupid. He said, oh, I got crazy glue right here. I think that's it. Yeah. I'm like, no. Like, take it back to that guy who charged you $50. Just, you know, stupid. Everyone, they wanted to do everything. Like, oh, it's simple. Just put glue on it. Well, why can't you do it then? Alright, so got everything back together. ABS line, outer tie rod. Spins nice and smooth. Freed up the brake pads. There was so much corrosion right there. Now they move freely how they should. Here's the old brake pad that was on the back side. You can see how it damaged the rotor. Here's that line I was telling you about. See? It kind of bounces around inside of here. That's not good, but I don't have a clip for this. Alright, so now I'm on the other side of the truck. On this side, it's just gonna get brake pads. And look at this. I guess this was really a $50 job, right? It really is what you pay, what you get. Here's my thoughts on this. Is Daddy, you buy an old truck. Okay, Avi, please come on, move over. It's nasty. That's what that is. You buy an old truck, right? Clearly has rust. Everything is rusty and rotted underneath it. If it drives and it gets you around, just drive it. You know, fix whatever stuff needs to get fixed, so that, you know, that's good. But you know, what do you care that the rockers are rotted out? Who are you trying to impress in this truck? You know, it makes no sense. Not even for $50 would I invest in fixing this. Just leave it. I mean, look at how rusty everything else is. You know what I mean? What's the point? Well, look at this. Just as I expected, that is newspaper. Okay. That's hack work right there. But $50. This Mercedes that I'm doing the brakes on, I still have to do this side. Look at this. What's up with this weekend? Crazy body work going on. That's crazy. That is literally foam, okay? So the last truck we had newspaper, and this one they're using foam. That's crazy. Let's go look at the other side. Look at that. Maybe the guy that they paid those $50 on the truck, maybe they paid him, I don't know, he upgraded to foam on this one, so this is probably like a $75 job.